By now, we have seen few, if any, lines the president will not cross in amassing and abusing unchecked power from the Oval. First, he went after groups and institutions that he decided weren't fans of his. Universities, law firms who employed or represented his accusers, media companies who ran unflattering but accurate coverage, nonprofits, because why not? The long independent Department of Justice, but now just a useful cudgel at his beck and call, they've launched investigations just purely as intimidation. Media mergers and acquisitions were held up until capitulation, including checks were made out to El Jefe, Trump. Government grants suddenly were frozen, and universities were staring at tens if not hundreds of millions of lost revenue unless they submitted. Certain law firms were suddenly barred from federal space, and many of their clients began to look elsewhere. In short, Trump turned the screws like a mob boss in an extortion plot, and his victims, often backed by a feckless Supreme Court, they blinked. Now, this only emboldened the orange one. Despite criticizing his predecessor for interfering in capitalism, Trump has made it clear that he is willing to use the full force of the U.S. government to intervene in corporate matters to achieve his economic and foreign policy goals. He's already decided he'll take a cut of money generated from sales of AI chips to China by NVIDIA. More than that, he plans on taking a stake in the company as well. The Pentagon, they now have taken a preferred equity stake in a rare earth mining company for hundreds of millions of dollars. No one has ever seen any administration doing anything approaching this level of conflict of interest in the past. Who do you think's going to get government contracts if one of the bidders is owned in part by the government? Is our president now going to require a taste, like a mob don, for American firms to sell overseas? This model is unprecedented in American history, as I said, but it is very familiar in other places like China. That's what we're on the precipice of here. But as with everything with Trump, it's also going far beyond what I just mentioned. Our president, as we have seen, he wants to pick winners and losers in a free market system based, in large part, on if they say and do what he wants to hear and see. Now, this week, he went after Goldman Sachs, telling their CEO that he needs to replace his chief economist because he, the economist, has predicted the tariff policies will dent our labor market, cause higher inflation, and slow U.S. economic growth. This economist, widely revered on Wall Street for being one of the few to actually forecast the market crash in 2008, he's hardly alone in seeing real trouble on America's horizon with these tariffs. In the latest round of earnings reports, big auto like Ford and General Motors, they reported major economic consequences because of those tariffs, and most sectors, they're forecasting the same thing. To this point, consumers, they've absorbed 22% of tariff costs, and that number is expected to triple to 67% in the coming months if the uncertainty of Trump's trade policies hold. Now, this modeling is apparently enraging the president. He's alternately told auto companies, don't raise your prices. He told Target to, quote, eat the tariffs. He even told Coke to change the recipe. But it's not just angry missives late at night on Truth Social. Earlier this month, as you know, he fired his own appointee at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a nonpartisan agency, for the unforgivable sin of reporting facts, namely that job numbers were down. In her place, he's nominated a lackey and a zealot who's criticized the agency in the past, and if confirmed, would be the first time that lead investors would have to doubt data from our own government. Think about where this could lead. And that's the whole point here. If Trump were a real businessman, he'd insist on free markets and a level playing field. That's capitalism. Instead, he's trying to rig bids. He's trying to rig the data and rig independent forecasts. That is not good for business. That's not good for our economy, and it certainly isn't good for a healthy democracy. What it is the art of a bad deal.